Hi, we're all used to the typical video game tropes. You're the chosen one, the knight in shining armor, humanity's last hope. You pick up a legendary weapon, overcome all the odds, slay the Dark Lord, and bring peace and prosperity back to the world while epic music plays in the background. But what if the hero died a long time ago, evil already won, and the world has turned into a rotting pit where heroism simply has no place? Today, we're going to talk about the darkest, most brutal, and psychologically crushing genre out there, pure Grimdark. I've put together a list of 20 dark fantasy games for you where the chances of a happy ending are absolutely zero. Let's start with Stygian, Outer Gods. Imagine a world where humanity isn't even a grain of sand, but just an annoying speck of dust on the boots of the Elder Gods. Here, nobody's asking you to save the universe or be the chosen hero, because there's simply nothing left to save. You're a mercenary stuck in a cursed town that is slowly sinking into an abyss of madness, horrific mutations, and Lovecraftian nightmares. There are no happy endings here, only desperate attempts to survive just one more day before your mind finally snaps. The coolest thing about this game is how heavily its atmosphere of doom weighs on you. Every choice you make, every monster or creepy cultist you encounter doesn't just drain your health, it shatters your character's sanity. This is that pure, concentrated darkness where evil has already won. Darkest Dungeon. If you look up the word hopelessness in the dictionary, you'll definitely find a screenshot of Darkest Dungeon. Your dear ancestor blew the entire family fortune on occult parties and unearthed a primordial evil so ancient under the estate that the lands are now cursed forever. In this game, heroes are basically just cannon fodder. They will go insane from stress, catch paranoia, drink themselves to death in taverns, and die from a heart attack right in the middle of a fight, all just because someone forgot to light a torch. In the second game, the level of despair is cranked up even higher. Now, you're riding a flimsy stagecoach across a ruined world that is literally devouring itself. The light is fading, monsters are crawling out of every crack, and your heroes are at each other's throats inside the carriage from the unbearable tension. Age of Darkness. Final Stand. This is a brutal strategy game where the light gave up its ground a long time ago and the remnants of humanity are hiding from the deadly veil. This darkness doesn't just hide your enemies, it's alive, and it literally drains the life out of your soldiers. And when night falls, tens of thousands of nightmarish creatures crash against your fragile walls from out of the fog. And no matter how well you build your base, no matter how many ballistas you set up, sooner or later, a wave of monsters is going to break through your defenses. You aren't taking this world back, you're just trying to sell your lives as dearly as possible. It's unforgiving gameplay that genuinely makes you terrified of the dark. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. The premise of this game is easily one of the most depressing setups I've seen in a long time. Somewhere out there, there's a mysterious paintress who paints a single number on a monolith once a year. And the moment she does, every single person of that age on the planet instantly turns to dust. Right now, she's about to paint the number 33. Before you, there have been 32 expeditions that tried to stop her, and not a single one of them came back. Expedition 33 is absolutely drenched in fatalism. You're playing as doomed people who are fully aware that their chances of success are basically zero. All around you is a surreal, dying world, completely twisted by magic. Path of Exile 2. Rayclast is definitely not the kind of continent you'd want to visit for a vacation. It's a massive prison continent where the worst criminals, outcasts, and undesirables are exiled just to rot away. In the world of Path of Exile 2, there are no knights in shining armor or wise kings. This place is ruled by corrupted deities, cultists, the undead, and chthonic mutants. The very earth is poisoned, and to survive, you're going to have to resort to blood magic, the corpses of your enemies, and some seriously questionable rituals. This game is not shy about showing you the grit and brutality of dark fantasy in all its glory. Grim Dawn. A magical cataclysm of such massive proportions happened in this world that humanity was literally crushed. On one side, you have the ethereal creatures that possess the dead and the living, turning them into grotesque mutants. On the other side are chthonic cultists, who happily bleed the remaining survivors dry to summon their ancient gods from the void. And the best part is that the world is already destroyed. You're not the chosen savior here to cancel the apocalypse and bring back the green pastures. Humanity isn't even a participant in this conflict. They're just resources and collateral damage in a turf war between two cosmic forces. Your job is simply to rally a handful of misfits in a ruined prison and try to survive for just one more night. Tyranny. Let's face it, we're all used to stories where the hero gathers an army to overthrow the Dark Lord. But in Tyranny, the Dark Overlord has already won. The war is over, the forces of good have been crushed, and you play as a fate binder, sort of an elite inquisitor and bureaucrat serving absolute evil. Your goal isn't to save the world, but to make sure the remnants of the resistance are brutally suppressed and the tyrant's laws are obeyed without question. It's a brilliant take on dark fantasy. The game constantly throws moral choices at you, but playing the good guy just isn't an option here. You have to choose between brutal but effective and straight-up sadistic. You'll literally be condemning entire regions to a slow death. Fear and Hunger. If you've never heard of this game, consider your nervous system lucky. This is an indie RPG that became legendary for its absolutely unforgiving and sick sadism toward the player. You descend into dungeons where elder gods have awakened, and absolutely everything down there wants to kill you, maim you, or drive you insane. A trap doesn't just drain your health, it takes your character's legs. A coin flip in combat can end with you losing an arm, your eyesight, or your life, and it's permanent. The atmosphere in both games is so oppressive, repulsive, and filthy that after a couple of hours of playing, you just want to go take a shower. Ender Lilies. At first glance, this game might seem too beautiful and anime-inspired for this list. But don't let its fragile aesthetic fool you. The lore of Ender Lilies is a hopeless tragedy. The kingdom of Land's End has been swallowed by the Blight, a reign of death that never stops. It makes people immortal, drives them insane, and turns them into monsters doomed to eternal torment. By the time you take control of the little priestess Lily, there is literally no one left to save. Lily can't even attack on her own. She summons the souls of knights she has purified from the Blight to fight for her. Every time you defeat a boss, you read their dying notes, seeing how desperately they tried to save their loved ones and failed. You aren't saving this kingdom, you're just wandering through its ruins to grant these tortured souls some long-awaited peace. Blacktail. Here, you play as a 16-year-old Baba Yaga from the legends. She was banished from her home village for witchcraft, and now she wanders through a surreal, poisoned forest full of talking mushrooms, creepy idols, and lost spirits. The game's world feels like a heavy, hallucinogenic dream where there is simply no place for good in the traditional sense. The most gripping part here is how the game plays with your morality. The forest around you is rotting, the protagonist's memories are traumatic, and you're faced with a choice. Become the protector of these cursed lands, or turn into the very nightmare they use to scare disobedient children. GRIME 2. While most of the games on our list show ruined human kingdoms, the universe of GRIME is something completely alien, foreign, and surreal. There are no familiar concepts of good, evil, or hope here. The entire world is a living, pulsating mass of stone, flesh, and bone that is constantly devouring itself. In the second game, you play as an entity that literally steals other people's shells and forms just to survive in this insane realm of mutations. Visually, the game induces an incredible sense of discomfort, but you just can't look away. You aren't a hero saving a princess. You're a predator in an ecosystem where absolutely everything is trying to consume each other. Blasphemous. Welcome to a world ruled by an entity known as the Miracle. But this isn't a kind god. It's a blind, incomprehensible force that turns people's fears, sins, and prayers into monstrous mutations. People here literally worship pain, and voluntary torture is an everyday norm. Saving this world is absolutely pointless because its own inhabitants don't want to be saved. They crave redemption through endless suffering. You play as the Penitent One, a silent warrior in a cone-shaped helmet who hacks his way through rivers of blood, grotesque saints, and mutilated fanatics. Both games are stunningly beautiful but infinitely sick pixel art masterpieces. Every location and every boss is drenched in a thick atmosphere of hopelessness. Moonscars. The world here lost all its color a long time ago. It's rotting under the dim light of a cruel moon, and everything living has long since gone mad. You control an artificial female warrior sculpted from clay by a mad sculptor. Her only goal is to find her creator and learn the reason for her existence. But the problem is that in this world, answers only bring even more despair. The tragedy of this game lies in the fact that all your enemies are clay molds just like you, your brothers and sisters in arms who have gone insane from pain and an endless cycle of death. It's an incredibly stylish, brutal 2D Souls-like where a feeling of isolation literally oozes from the screen every single second of your playthrough. Witchfire. In this universe, there's an apocalyptic war raging between the church and witches, and the church is clearly losing. The world has already drowned in dark magic and nightmarish creatures crawling out of the Black Sea. And you play as a prayer, an immortal sinner whom the Holy See turned into a living, soulless weapon. You're no noble paladin, you're just an attack dog forced to hunt monsters using firearms and dark magic that is slowly devouring you from the inside. It's a gorgeous, fast-paced, and insanely beautiful first-person shooter, but beneath its flashy exterior hides an absolutely bleak and hopeless lore. King Arthur, Knight's Tale. In this game, the classic legend of the Round Table has turned into a nightmare. King Arthur didn't go off to rest after the Battle of Camlan. He turned into an immortal, insane monster whose agony has twisted the island of Avalon itself. And to stop this monstrosity, the Lady of the Lake resurrects Mordred, Arthur's sworn enemy, the very villain who killed him. That's exactly who you'll be playing as. Avalon in this game is a wasteland roaming with the undead and crazed knights. It's a brutal tactical RPG where you constantly have to sacrifice people, make horrific choices, and strike deals with pagan spirits. This is the ultimate case of having to summon a greater evil to fight evil, simply because there's no hope left for heroes in shining armor. Diablo IV. In the fourth installment, the developers stopped even pretending that humanity has any chance at a normal life. You arrive in a world where villages are drowning in mud and blood, people are turning to cannibalism out of sheer desperation just to survive the winter, and the return of the mother, Lilith, is basically the final nail in the coffin for this universe. And you're just an exhausted traveler trying to clean up an apocalyptic mess that is fundamentally impossible to clean up. People here are just cannon fodder and collateral damage. It's a stunningly beautiful, big-budget simulator of total despair, where almost every quest ends with the person you were trying to help dying a horrific death anyway. Hollow Knight. Don't let the charming, hand-drawn visuals and cute bugs fool you. Hollow Knight is a masterclass in how to hide an absolute tragedy behind a pretty picture. Hallownest isn't a kingdom waiting to be saved, it's a giant mass grave. A parasitic infection has driven nearly every living creature insane, turning them into aggressive, mindless husks. You're exploring the majestic ruins of a civilization that has been dead for a long time, and the lore here is pitch black. To stop the infection, the local Pale King sacrificed millions of his own children, throwing them into the abyss to find just one, the emptiest one, who could serve as a living cage for the disease. But the plan failed. Playing as the Knight, you are essentially a discarded, emotionless vessel that came back to clean up your father's catastrophic mistakes. The Banner Saga. Imagine a harsh Scandinavian world where the gods are already dead. The sun is frozen in the sky forever, and a giant wall of all-consuming darkness is literally devouring the continent. The Banner Saga isn't a heroic epic. It's an agonizing road trip stretched across 3 games, following refugees who are just trying to outrun the end of the world. It's a tactical RPG where your main enemy isn't even the monsters. It's starvation, frostbite, and the despair of your own people. The brilliance of this trilogy lies in its brutal choices. As the leader of the caravan, you'll make decisions that will get your favorite characters killed, and you'll do it solely so the rest of the group has enough food to survive just one more week. Arx Fatalis. Imagine a world where the sun has literally died. It didn't hide behind the clouds because of some curse. It simply went out. The surface of the planet instantly turned into a lifeless glacier, and all sentient races had to abandon their kingdoms and flee deep underground. Arx Fatalis is a cult classic, incredibly atmospheric RPG that traps you in a claustrophobic underground city where the remnants of civilization are barely making ends meet, slowly degrading in the eternal darkness. Starvation is everywhere, resources are running out, races are ready to tear each other's throats out, and mad cultists hide in the shadows, trying to summon a god of destruction to finish off the survivors. And the main tragedy is that even if you stop the local evil, you won't bring the sun back to the sky. This world is forever doomed to hide in caves. Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon. We've already mentioned the legend of King Arthur today, but the developers of Tainted Grail took things even further than that previous story. The heroic Arthur is dead. The Knights of the Round Table have vanished or gone mad, and the magical island of Avalon is being consumed by the Wordness, a mind-bending fog that warps reality itself. The game feels like the most brutal, depressing version of Skyrim imaginable, but instead of shouts and dragons, you're faced with diseases, starvation, and mutated locals who want to skin you alive. The atmosphere is incredibly suffocating. Handfuls of survivors huddle together in rotting settlements, losing their minds and turning to dark rituals just so the Wordness doesn't devour them before the night is over. You know, after a list like that, you just want to step outside, look up at the sun, and be glad that our world isn't quite so bad. But now I want to hear your thoughts. Head down to the comments and let me know, which of these cursed worlds would you least want to find yourself in? And, of course, if I missed your favorite game where there's not a single ray of hope, feel free to drop it in your own personal top list below the video. I read everything. The Image Game channel was with you. Have a nice day.